We used to love to eat out Chinese food, and Chinese food's really hard to eat out at a restaurant when you're doing low carb, high fat because of the sauces, the cornstarches, the sweeteners. You really don't know what's in some of the sauces. So I decided to take on kind of an Asian flair, and this is not authentic by any stretch of the imagination, but I was able to make it in such a way that my family really enjoyed it, and I think that satisfied that craving for Chinese food. So I'm going to make it just a basic brown sauce, and I've got different vegetables. You can change the vegetables up, but we'll talk about that as we go along. I'm going to start with basically 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. Now, sesame oil is a seed oil, and some folks don't like to use it. You can use a bacon fat if you'd like, a coconut oil, or just MCT oil. I added 2 tablespoons to that for this recipe. I don't have a wok, and if I did, I would certainly be using it, but because I don't, I'm just using a big skillet. I'm going to cook the chicken and the vegetables separately for the ease of showing you what I'm doing. Now, to that oil, and I've got the pan really hot, to that oil, I'm adding a good tablespoon or so of garlic, and I'm not going to let it burn. I'm going to also add to that some ginger. And you do want the garlic to brown in the sesame oil just a bit, but not a lot. I'm going to add a good tablespoon or so of freshly grated ginger, and you can use dried ginger if you'd like. I'm saving some garlic and some ginger for the vegetables we're going to do next. And I'm adding turmeric. We've been talking a lot in our group about turmeric and the health benefits. It's anti-inflammatory. So I'm using both of those. Turmeric doesn't have a very strong taste at all. If I burn this garlic, it's going to have a strong taste. Turmeric doesn't have a strong taste at all, and I think that you'll like what it brings. It's an earthy flavor. Turmeric is optional. You don't have to put that in. Let's grab the chicken. This is really nice and hot, and let's just dump the chicken in there. Now this is 3 pounds of chicken, which is one of the reasons why I'm going to use 2 pans to do this. And I may have to add more oil as I go. But basically you want it really hot. If this was in a wok, it would be super, super hot, and I would just keep it moving. After the chicken browns, we're going to add some sauce to it. Now the sauce can also be used as a marinade. And I didn't do that. I didn't have time. Every time I've made this dish, I haven't marinated the chicken, but it's turned out really good anyway. So if you don't have time to do that, don't worry too much about it. Okay, let's add a little more sesame oil to this. And once I get the chicken browned, and I may have to pause and come back, probably added an extra tablespoon. Once I get the chicken brown, I'll add the sauce to it. And then I love this pan because it has a nice heavy lid, and I'll put it on a different burner and let it kind of simmer in those juices. Well, I noticed when I made it last time, I thought I would have 6 servings, and with 3 pounds of chicken, I expect 6 servings, that I had enough leftovers for kind of 1 serving. So I guess it was actually 5 servings that 3 people ate. But what I noticed was the next day, the flavor was a little better actually than the flavor. I mean, it was still good the night I made it, but it kind of intensified as it went on. So basically, I'm going to keep this moving. It's a really high heat, so the chicken will start to brown, and you'll see it, and it's really giving it some great flavor. When you add the sauce, all the brown bits that are around the edges of the skillet kind of go into the sauce. We call that pot liquor at our house. I really love it. Now, if you like a strong ginger flavor, you can add more ginger, and I may actually do that. Again, I'm using fresh ginger. I can't smell the ginger enough, so that's about 2 tablespoons. 1 will be sufficient if you don't care a lot for ginger, but if you do, then certainly feel free to add 2. And again, dried ginger will be fine. Something else that you can do is, and I'll show you how to grate the fresh ginger. The fresh ginger is in the produce section at your grocery store. That's where it is in mine. And fresh ginger looks like this. And a tip that I found, someone told me, is if you take the back of the spoon, because my inclination was to take a knife and just cut the peeling off, but everything I understand is that it's a very thin paper-like peeling. So if you just take the back of your spoon and just kind of push the peeling off, then you lose a lot of the flesh, because it can be kind of fibrous once you get down in there. So just pull that off, and it takes a while to do, but just kind of use the back of the spoon to dig under it, and you don't waste so much of the precious ginger. And then I just use a little hand grater and grate it like that and get fresh ginger. So again, you can use a powdered ginger if you prefer. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll pause, and I'll come back after the chicken's browned up. Okay, so our chicken's been going now for about 15 minutes or so, and it's mostly browned and done. And at one point, I don't know how well you can see down in the pan, but at one point there was a good quarter-inch or so of juices, and that was just the pan juices from the chicken. You want to let all of that cook out. What's really important is that you dry it out. You don't want the chicken to steam. Now, if I had a wok, it wouldn't get that wet, but because of the heat. But anyway, you want to keep it, don't be afraid to keep it on a really high heat and cook all of those juices out. It smells really good about now. So the chicken is done, like it's cooked. It would probably hit that internal temperature. It has, some of them have nice kind of brown bits on them. And so it's about time to add the sauce. You add the sauce when what's in the pan is getting really thin and you're afraid it's going to start sticking or burning. So there's kind of your tip. And I like chicken, I like my meats really, really tender. And so that's why I'm gonna put the sauce in, give it a stir around, and then set it aside and do the vegetables. Now, what's in the sauce? I'm gonna show you how to make the sauce when we do the vegetables, but just trust me. This is a cup of coconut aminos. I use the coconut aminos because I don't like to use soy products. You can use soy, like soy sauce is wheat-based. So you can use tamarind, I can't even say it. Tamarind? No. Tamari. You can use tamari. I could see it, but I couldn't say it. Tamari. You can use tamari. It is a good option. It's soy-based, but it's not wheat-based. But anyway, you can use that if you don't have or can't find coconut aminos. I buy it by the gallon. I sure do, because I use it in crack slaw from Amazon. Now I'm going to pour this in the side, and what's in the sauce is a half cup of coconut aminos, 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. Be careful when you're buying rice vinegar. It often has sugar added. And I'm trying not to let it lower the pan temperature too much, which is why I'm adding a little bit at a time and trying to pour it in on the sides. And 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. Again, this would make a great marinade if I'd had the time to marinate the chicken ahead of time. I also think that this would do okay in a crock pot. Haven't tried it, but I think if you put the chicken and the seasonings in there, I think it would do okay. I probably would take the chicken out of the crock pot when it was done and boil down the pan juices before I served it, but I think it would do okay in a crock pot. Now let's add the rest of this in here. Okay, now what you're gonna do, I'm gonna save that because I'm gonna make another set of marinade for the vegetables. And normally what you do is at this point you would add the vegetables in. Notice I've kept the heat really high because I don't have a wok. Okay, we've got our second pan. Our chicken is bubbling over somewhere else, and I'm going to do the vegetables. Like I said, normally you do this in one pot, but there was so much chicken with 3 pounds that I decided to do it this way. Okay, I want this on a pretty high heat, just like before with the chicken, and I've put in my ginger and turmeric and garlic, and it's in another spoonful or so of sesame oil. Again, use MCT oil or whatever it is you like. You want it on a high heat because you don't want the vegetables to steam. Okay, so what vegetables are we going to put in this? I'm going to use some asparagus. This is a cup of fresh asparagus. Make sure your vegetables are dried out because the water will cause it to steam, and you don't want that to happen. So I've got a cup of fresh asparagus. This is about 5 or 6 carbs, and I weighed it so that I would know. So I think it's 6. The broccoli, which is just over a cup, is 5 carbs. So we've got 11 carbs in our broccoli and our asparagus. Now remember, we're going to stretch this into 6 servings. I decided to add mushrooms to this because mushrooms are a fantastic bargain when it comes to carbs. This is about 1.5 cups, I believe. So I had a cup of broccoli, cup of asparagus. This is about 1.5 cups. I measured it. Now I measured it in grams, but I can't tell you the exact amount. But the way I measured it, it's 5 carbs. So 5 plus 5 plus 6 is 16. And again, at 6 servings, we're getting fewer than 3 carbs just in our vegetables, which is pretty good. We got enough carbs in our sauce, I think. Okay, I'm going to stir that around. It smells so fantastic. I'm going to add a little salt. I didn't add salt to the chicken yet, but I'm going to do that. And after I add the salt, I'll add the last vegetable. And the salt is just a sprinkle. And the last vegetable I'm going to add are bean sprouts. Now, I wasn't sure about bean sprouts and how many carbs were in those. I was a little nervous, to be honest, but I found out that an entire cup is about 1 carb. And total carb, now I'm not counting net carbs, I'm counting total carbs. So they are absolutely a great bargain. If you don't like asparagus, oh my God, or doesn't. But if you don't like asparagus, don't use it. The last time I made this, I actually used some snow peas, which I didn't use a lot, but it was a great flavor. I used snow peas and I used some bell pepper, and it was really very tasty. There go the bean sprouts. Man, I wish you could smell this. I always say that, but it's so stinking good. Now, you want your vegetables cooked. You want them tender. I still like mine a little crisp. I don't like the mushy thing at all. Keep your heat on high. And let's do the marinade one more time. Okay, I'm going to use, now again, this would normally cook, but I'm going to use 1/2 cup of the coconut aminos, and I could use less, but I'm going to still go with 1/2 cup if I can find the 1/2 cup measure. Almost there. Almost to 1/2 cup. Yeah. And I'm going to add to this the rice vinegar that I put away in the cabinet. Let me grab the rice vinegar. It's just a tablespoon of rice vinegar. Since this does have carbs, and watch for sugars. And then a little more of the olive oil, the sesame oil. I'm not going to put much because I've used so much. You can give it a little whisk, not really necessary, but give it a little whisk, and let's stir this in the pan. A little at a time, because you don't want to lower the pan temperature too much. Now, the sauce is going to cook down. You've got it on really high heat, so you don't want this swimming in sauce. You're also going to thicken it. And I've already done this with the chicken dish. But what I've done, I added that last bit probably too quickly. But what I've done is I've used some glucomannan to thicken it up, and it gives it a really nice, authentic flavor. If you don't have glucomannan, and it's not expensive, by the way, if you don't have it, and I did get it on Amazon, of course, you can use xanthan gum, and that's a nice thickener too. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little in. You don't want to use more than a teaspoon total. I used maybe 1/2 teaspoon. You want to sprinkle it in because it can glop up on you like gelatin, and you don't want that to happen. Just sprinkle it in, give it a stir. Keep thinking I'll find an old salt shaker and put this stuff in. I saved a spice jar, and the holes were just too thick. That's going to thicken up nicely. And just simmer down. Okay, let's get our our chicken back, and we'll figure out how to plate this up. Okay, everything is done now and it looks so good. And what I've done is I've kind of visually split the pot in two. And so that's half. Remember, I want to get 6 servings. And so here I want to divide this into thirds. It won't be perfect, but it will give me an idea of portion. Now, often what I do is I serve this over miracle rice. I love the cognac miracle rice, and my family likes it too. You can make cauli rice, but be aware that if you make cauli rice, you're going to add carbs from the cauliflower. So we eat it just fine without anything, actually. And one of the reasons I've made this separately, by the way, is I do have 2 fellas eating with me who don't really like the vegetables, so they'll eat the chicken. Okay, so I'm going to kind of eyeball the chicken. If I do half of the pan, well, there's more in that half, isn't there? If I do half the pan and then do a third and a third, then a chicken portion is going to look something like this, I think. Maybe a little more. That's a lot to me. And then a vegetable portion is going to look something like this. Okay. And I couldn't get any takers. Everybody's too busy to come help taste right now on camera. They'll be ready to eat shortly. But there's this wonderful brown thick sauce in the whole thing. I've still got that simmering. I'm going to turn that off. And we'll, oops, don't let the mushroom get in there. And I've got a spoon. Didn't get a fork. And oh man, I can't wait to try it. I'm kind of lucky I get to try it. I'm gonna get a little bit of broccoli, get a little piece of asparagus, get a little mushroom on there, and find a piece of chicken. And let's see what it tastes like. I'm thinking maybe I won't call them down for dinner. It's really good. I will hand it off to let somebody else try it. What I love about it is it's just a really nice, versatile sauce. As I said, when I made it last time, I used peppers and I used a little snow peas, and I used cashews. I added a 1/4 cup of cashews, and so it was like a cashew chicken. Very basic brown sauce. You can change up the vegetables, make it like a mugu gai pan. I think that sauce would be fabulous as pepper steak. So there are lots of different things that you can do with it. Again, the flavors intensify overnight, and you might want to try marinating. That really do love this stuff. I hope that if you make it for your family that you enjoy it too.
It's really good.